Three main thoughts came to mind. Immediate thoughts came to mind. The first thought was, as you know, I just had a son who's 1 year old. And I was like, my son's only 1 year old. If this situation goes left, I can't believe this is the last time I'm going to see my son. And he's going to have to grow up without me. That was my first thought. My second thought was, I'm glad that I practice what I preach, and my wife will be financially taken care of, even though I know that she's not, that's going to be the last thing that she's thinking about, right? But at least I know that I did my part to make sure that she's secure there. And the last thought was, I know this is going to be hard and devastating for my friends and my family as well, but I hope that they can compartmentalize their feelings to surround her, my wife, and my son, because they're going to need it the most.
Right.
Those are my immediate thoughts.
Ghetto.
Good idea, now we buying merch.
That's ghetto.
Payment miss.
Ooh, the ghetto.
Say she quit.
Ooh, the ghetto.
Late on your rent.
Rent is ghetto.
New event.
Ooh, the ghetto.
Invoice in.
That ain't ghetto.
Money spin.
Oh, that's ghetto. Hold on, it's kind of ghetto being a CEO.
What's up, coworker? Don't you want to link together and get a live podcast experience of this Ghetto CEO podcast? Wouldn't you love to see Cody on the couch and your favorite entrepreneurs here in Atlanta? Well, you got to tap in and come to our happy hour live podcast experience December 16th of this year. Yes, December 16th, 2023. We are doing a live Ghetto CEO podcast. And guess what, y'all? I'm bringing some of y'all to the couch. All you got to do is click the link below and you can either get your ticket or get on the wait list so that you can be able to get on this couch. Make your plans, grab your flights, get your rooms, because listen, the Ghetto CEO Live Podcast is not something that you want to miss. So December 16th, I want to see you guys there. Listen, last time we had the drinks flowing, we had the vibes going, we had a little dance, we had bars and all the things. So get in the room for the next Ghetto CEO Live Podcast, and I'll see you guys there. Now back to the episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Ghetto CEO Show. I ain't sung for y'all in a minute, but I am super excited about this guest that we have today. And if you are here, okay, if you are here, you know that the Ghetto CEO podcast is all about really telling you guys about how it really is behind entrepreneurship, like the raw, unfiltered truth, uncut truth, right? And so in this episode, we got my brother, George, coming to tell us about his experience with being a CEO. So I want you guys to buckle up because we about to get it popping. Welcome, George. George, how are you, dear?
And listen, if I was any better, I would be you. So,
What?
So you know, I think I'm doing all right. I think
Yes.
I'm doing all right.
Listen.
I mean, it's been quite the ordeal, right? Past 10
Listen.
days, but you know, other than that, I'm good.
You've been through it.
Been through it.
How are you feeling?
Honestly, I'm feeling fine. And here's why I'm feeling fine.
Okay.
The reason I'm feeling fine is because I've been able to deduce all of the ways it could have went. Right? I could have.
Okay, you gotta tell them the story.
I gotta tell the story,
Yeah,
right?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
so you can't just jump into it, right? So I was traveling to Colombia to meet one of my business partners. We were gonna have like a little mini business retreat.
Yeah.
I landed there like around 9:45. Got my bag through baggage claim. Got an Uber. Went to his spot, and as soon as I pulled up to his Airbnb, I got robbed at gunpoint. Right. Guys hopped out motorcycles, guns drawn.
So it wasn't the Uber.
It wasn't the Uber. I mean, well, if it was the Uber driver, he was playing the long game. And the reason why I say that is because when we called the cops after that happened, he stayed. He gave him all his information, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, you know, hell, the cops could have been. I don't know.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
right.
But what I believe happened is they have like in some foreign countries they have like what you call spotters at the airport.
Okay.
And basically it's like, okay, well, this guy's coming in. He got a few bags with him. I wasn't like, I didn't have anything crazy on. I had, you know,
Had that
hoodie
watch
on. Well, not this one because that one gone.
Oh, I might say,
Not this one.
you know, you be dripped without trying.
It was a plain road, but I don't think that's why they spotted me.
Okay,
Right? It was just like it was late. It wasn't as busy as it normally was. I had like 2 suitcases. I actually took my podcast equipment out, so I might have to have you send me the links to all this new stuff because I got to re-up.
Right.
And then I pull up, and then within 3 minutes, you know, they just take everything. I had a watch on. They take my phones. They take both of my suitcases, my passport, my ID, my credit cards, my wallets, everything. So mind you, you can't leave the country without the passport.
Right.
Right. So then I had to go through this whole ordeal to like go to the Capitol. I had to take the police report that I filed the next day to use that to get into the Capitol because you can fly domestically with the police report, but you can't fly without a passport. So you can't leave the country without a passport. So I get the passport at the embassy 2-3 days later, and then ultimately I'm able to get back. But It was a crazy situation.
Right. And so you said now you feel fine, but like,
Yeah.
what were you like? What was it like? What were you thinking? Because I can only like imagine.
Three main thoughts came to mind. Immediate thoughts came to mind. The first thought was, as you know, I just had a son who's 1 year old. And I was like, my son's only 1 year old. If this situation goes left, I can't believe that this is the last time I'm going to see my son. And he's going to have to grow up without me. That was my first thought. My second thought was, I'm glad that I practice what I preach, and my wife will be financially taken care of, even though I know that she's not, that's going to be the last thing that she's thinking about, right? But at least I know that I did my part to make sure that she's secure there. And the last thought was, I know this is going to be hard and devastating for my friends and my family as well, but I hope that they can compartmentalize their feelings to surround her, my wife, and my son, because they're going to need it the most.
Right.
Those are my immediate thoughts in the moment.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And so now you're like, I'm okay.
Yeah, because that's what I was getting at. Because when I think about all the ways it could have gone, number one, it could have been fatal. Worst case scenario, right? Number two, I could have been physically harmed in the robbery itself, right? They could have like tried to, harm me to take whatever they wanted to take.
Right.
Number three, I could have not made it to the Airbnb and got robbed on the side of the road somewhere in a country where I don't speak the language, and I don't even know how to find the person I came to see, which would have added insult to injury. So when you think about like all those possibilities and the fact that it was a very kind of cussing the podcast shitty situation,
yes,
you know what I'm saying? It was on the spectrum of how bad it could have been to what it was. I'm okay, right? And also when I get back, the moment I get back, I'm going through customs, and the guy's like, why do you have an emergency passport? And I gave him like the 30-second version of the story. He's like, whoa, I'm glad you made it back because this just happened in Mexico and somebody died. Mind you, I'm disconnected. I don't have a phone. I don't have nothing, which by the way is a nightmare traveling without a cell phone.
Right.
And so he's telling me about somebody that died in Mexico and whatever. And so I'm like, first of all, trigger warning, right? I just went through a traumatic experience. Yeah. But knowing that like, something crazy could have happened to me, or I could have even, they could have like took me and held me for ransom because they think, oh, he got money. We're going to try to, get his family to wire. So like it could have went a lot of different ways, and 99% of what was taken from me, I can get back. I did have my my idea book in there. It's like stuff like Drake with the BlackBerry with the side scrolls. So somebody goes, if you see somebody in Africa with some new Melanin Money designs.
Facts.
Other than that,
everything
is can be repurchased.
Well, I'm like so happy when you told me. I was just like, George, and I guess because we also CEOs, we're very much problem solvers. So there's no way that I could tell you something like that, and your immediate mind is not like, okay, what I could do? You know what I'm saying? Not knowing that Madge is on it. You know what I'm saying? Helping you. But my thought was like, I could go to the MC. I could get a pad. Like, what can I do? Right? But it's just like, you never expect, you hear about things that happen, but you never expect this to happen close to you.
Exactly. You never expect it to happen close to you. And that's why I encourage people. I'm like, I mean, they sound like cliches, like, make sure that you do what you're supposed to do because life's not promised and all that stuff. But when situation hits close to home, you realize like anything at any time can happen to you. And you just want to make sure that, you've done your part. So even on the business front, right? Like we build these businesses, we put all this effort into these businesses. Do you have, if something happened to you today, do you have the infrastructure set up to where someone could carry this legacy on, right? Then so you put all this effort into building it, but people don't even have access to the bank account to keep payroll running.
Facts.
Right? So it's like making sure that you've addressed those things because we have so much we got to deal with on a day-to-day basis. It seems like those things are important, but they're not urgent. Right. And the urgent things is like, oh, I got to put out this fire. I got to do that. But you don't want to build this empire and not be able to truly like pass it on. Right. If something does happen to you.
No,
right?
That's fixed. So I know we jumped right in. Like that was really good. Yeah. And I think it is going to help somebody, knowing that everybody goes through something.
Everybody goes through something.
Something. Like trauma is not going to not come on our street.
That's
right.
a fact.
But tell them who you are, right?
Yeah.
Tell them who you are and like how we met.
Absolutely. So I'm George. Don't look at you. Look at the camera. Okay. I'm George Acheampong. I've been a financial advisor for the past 12 years. I have a mission of helping 100,000 people of color achieve their first $1 million in net worth.
Yes.
So we can decrease the wealth gap by $100 billion in the next 12 years.
Yes.
Right. So that's my mission. One of the top 100 financial advisors in the nation. And my goal is to help people that look like us build wealth, right? Everybody's teaching you how to make the bag, but we got to keep it too.
Absolutely.
Right? And we got to invest it. And so the way we met, 2019, was it?
Yeah.
Yep. Close to the end of the year, 2019. Once we had our conversation, I feel like we were connected a little bit. You had reached out like maybe mid-year, but we actually formally talked like towards the end of the year.
Yep.
And you had made, I always remember the number. It's like you had made like I think that you're 168,000 some change.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And you were like, yo, I'm about to go. It's lack of better terminology. I'm about to go crazy, but I need some structure. I need some support. And I was like, okay, you seem cool. Like, what you gonna do? What you trying to do? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But your energy was high. You were super. I could tell then. I was like, yo, she really is dope. And so we decided to work together. First, just on a professional level, and then we just became brother and sister, man. You just were like so cool. Like you poured into me, I poured into you. And in 12 months from that moment, you had your first $1 million year. I remember you called me. He's like, yo, we did it. We did it, Joe.
No, thanks.
And I've just been so proud to see, your evolution and all that you've accomplished. But like you said, being a CEO truly still is ghetto. Because
it still is ghetto.
in that process, it's like, yeah, people see the result. Like, oh, I made $1 million in revenue. But it's like team and staff and people that don't do what they're supposed to do or growing pains. And like, it's just a lot that happens on the road to get there. But to see you still push through and fight through that and go well beyond that first million is so dope to see.
Yes. And I think, one thing that I love is like, on that journey, that year of 2020 was just like very sacred to me, and I will always remember it. But it wasn't a lot of people that was around, but like it was some key people that was around, and you literally got to have a front row seat to that journey. Like, so from your perspective, what was you thinking? Like watching, and I know I'm not the first person you watched make $1 million. So what's your perspective when you're watching this happen? Have you been completely isolating yourself in business? Like you don't have people that you could do this business with. Well, you need coworkers, and that is why we created the Entrepreneurs Coworkers Community. This allows you to be able to develop relationships with other people in your community. So in the Entrepreneurship Coworkers Community, we give you a quiz to find out who you are and what type of CEO you are. And in this quiz, you get to meet other CEOs that may be more creative or traditional or hybrid. We have these CEOs there for you. But even taking it up a notch, we have local chapters in your city, from Atlanta to Dallas to New York to Houston to Chicago, chapters in your city where we're actually linking up every single month to work together, linking up to go to brunch together, having fun together, doing community service outreach. Like, this is a section of our life where we can really co-work and mingle with other people. It's time for you to get some coworkers, sis. And this community is completely free. Just because you're watching this podcast, all you have to do is stop, pause the podcast, click the link below, take the assessment, get in the community, and I'll see you there. Bye, coworker. Back to the episode.
Yeah, my perspective is that your vision matched your work ethic. Because people will see like these beautiful marketing campaigns, so well thought out, but I saw the behind the scenes, right? The numbers, the goals, the metrics, the ROI. We're trying to do this, like the conversion, like really understanding how you were gonna like map it out. And that was a beautiful thing to see, because I think people like they might think it's just easy, like it just comes organic to you, right? People even say that to me sometimes, like, oh, it just oozes out of you. I'm like,
no, it don't.
No, like
I push you.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So to see your work ethic, because you told me you were gonna do like this, I'm gonna take it to the next level this year. I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying? But then you showed me through your actions. And that was a beautiful thing to see, because sometimes people's work ethic doesn't match their ambition. I think your work ethic actually even exceeds your ambition, right? Like you're willing to get your hands dirty even as you grew. Like, are you not gonna do? Okay, that's cool. I'm gonna get it done. You know what I'm saying? So just seeing your commitment to that was dope. Seeing how you were willing to lean into, I don't know, the business side of marketing. I feel like people think of marketing as like the pretty stuff, the colors, the branding. And that's part, it's cool. It's part of it. But to see you like understand the analytics side of it and see that evolution, I think that was dope. I think that was key, honestly, in your growth. And just watching you be you. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's funny. Like people are like, my circle, my community, they think I'm a genius, and I'm like, well, you ain't met marketing by Monrae. You know what I'm saying? And I always try to catch myself, because I'm like, did she really be saying her government name out loud? So I'm gonna call you, but your mama call you. But like I mean, your marketing genius is just it knows no bounds.
Yes,
and it's so dope.
And it was just so fun, like, cause I think what I realized during that year is like, you were my person. Like, even though I had a coach at the time, like you were my person. Like I would like, we would, if y'all could see the voice notes,
bruh. That in itself could be a podcast, right?
Yo, that is a whole playbook.
And I don't delete text messages. So they probably say, when I got my new phone after being stolen, I had to, download on my data. I was like, I got so much data usage. And I was like, my text messages was like freaking 30 gigs.
Like, it's crazy. So yeah, we used to like just go in. And I think one thing is like, because I think it's special when you find that person you can just collaborate with. And even when you would call me, it's like, oh, this is going on. Do you think that friendship in business is a good thing, or sometimes I was also your client, right? And I'm very transparent, so I didn't, care about any of the hiccups or whatever. But like, do you feel like sometimes you can't always be transparent with your friends because they possibly could be your client, or does that have a hindrance?
I think if you're honest and you're transparent, because at the end of the day, you're dealing with humans. Humans are running the business, right? I think the issue comes when you try to act like there isn't anything wrong or any challenges and not acknowledge it, right? I think it's if you just acknowledge it, right, and you're making you're trying to rectify it, I think it's okay. I think where it gets tricky is like, it's like the elephant in the room. Like, we know, like, okay, something has to be addressed. Nobody's addressing it, but we're also still friends. And so it's like, do I bring it up when we're not talking about business? I think that's the issue. I think as long as everybody's transparent and is willing to address the elephant in the room, because at the end of the day, we're all people first, right? And we're people having a human experience, and things aren't always going to go 100% according to plan. And me, I value people and relationships over business. And I can always make money, right? And so it's like, for me, I want to preserve that. And so as long as I'm honest and upfront, I think for me, it's okay. I think you do have to have boundaries and expectations, especially when it's even more so in like a employee-employer role. Like if you have a friend that works for you, I think it's very important just to be clear, like, hey, look, we're friends, but in this environment, it's business. Right. And then being okay having those tough conversations in the business environment and that not impacting the friendship, right? And just setting that tone up front. Versus you in the middle of it, and it's like, well, dang, I don't know if I can address it. We're supposed to be going out later. Like, and I just called him out on not getting his deliverable. Is it easier to have business relationships that are not friendships? For sure. It's probably easier because it's like, if they're not cutting the mustard, it's like, okay, you're gone. Right. But I think it can be a beautiful thing when done the right way.
Absolutely. Because it's just that because one thing I feel like we had is that even if whatever, right? If I did, I'm like, you'll be like, can you get us the whatever? You know what I'm saying? It was like you also were very personally invested in the growth. And I think that sometimes when you're growing and you're scaling as an entrepreneur, that's the thing that's missing. Like, you're like, I'm the only one that cares. Oh my God. 100%. You know what I'm saying?
And you honestly are one of, if I'm thinking about the past 2-3 years, I've really started to separate myself a little bit from that. Not but intentionally. It's just that I was just like, I'm glad that it happened the way it happened with you, but there hasn't been, my clients will see this. But like, I don't know, just something about like, and again, I think it's because of what you brought to the table and how your work ethic, I wanted to be personally invested. But as a CEO, I now have the systems and infrastructure to where I don't have to be. Right? But I wanted to be. And to your point, I think that's the difference, because I think where friendship and business can go really well together is if it's like, okay, now I'm only working with people who I want to see win versus being a money grab.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see this person win, and they're probably going to win even more because you actually want to see it happen versus it being just like, oh, well, they paying me regardless. It don't really matter if they win or not.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? And you got the front row seat to all the ghetto shit. Like, the front row seat. Like, George was here when I took, like, all my L's that first year. Like, $40,000 L's. We ain't gonna talk about that. But, when I, like, all the things that I do and did that year, and you got to see like team member after team member, and then you also like gave me a lot of comfort. You was like, okay, girl, this is normal.
You're winning. Because you're how old are you now?
I am 28.
20. So you were 25? 25?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I kept trying to mind you. Like, yo, like, you're 25 years old. You better have your first $1 million year. Relax. It's okay.
And that's what you kept saying, right? Relax. And that's one thing. So I remember. And I tell my clients this all the time, literally like tell them this story. And I tell them, I feel like $1 million broke my business. I absolutely resent making that amount of money that fast, honestly.
Yeah, because it was fast.
It was
you go from your annual income getting close to your monthly income.
Absolutely.
Overnight.
overnight. Like 365 days is not a long time.
Not a long time at all.
And I think the reason why is I was so frustrated at the end because I had made all of this money. One, everybody's like, how you feeling? How you feeling?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't feel like shit. I got to do this shit again.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now I got this anxiety about like I got all this pressure and trying to figure this out. And then I'm looking at my bank account and I'm like, where's my money? Like I have no money.
Right.
Who stole my money? And I just really didn't understand. And I didn't understand the process of how that worked.
Yeah. And I think one of the things we talked about offline before we hopped on, you're like wondering, can growth and profit coexist, right? And it's like, and I think that's the reality. It's like, but we look at ourselves as small business owners, right? So like for me, you know, I never went out to Silicon Valley with the pitch deck and an idea and said, hey, I want you to invest millions of dollars in my idea that's not even proven, right? So from day one, we have to make things shake. We have to make enough margin to be able to pay people, to grow. And so I think what we forget is that the big boys, right? The Jeff Bezos of the world, the Donald Trump, like they get their small $1 million loans and from their family members, or they go out and raise tons of capital, and they're able to leverage that capital to go out and acquire top talent, build the best thing, right? These companies aren't profitable for several years, right? But we don't really have context to that, or didn't, and so then we think we're failing if we're not able to grow and produce profit, right, from the money that our business is generating.
No, absolutely. And I think, so when I'm going through this year, right, it's at the end of the year, I'm looking at this money, I'm looking at my bank account, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, what happened? And I'm thinking about like because the whole year, like, you know, I was like, let's keep going, like, let's go, like, let's go. And I'm like, I had this mentality, like, I could do anything. Like, I really thought, like, I could do anything. And so I'm reevaluating at the end of the year. I'm like, I ain't got no money. And I'm like, at the moment before I even like stopped, I'm like, even though we had a friendship, I resented our working relationship. I resented it. Like, I was like, damn, I ain't got no money. Like, you know what I'm saying? But then I started to like learn more. And I realized, because I just had another friend and she has an 8-figure company. She was like, we're not profitable. I was like, you don't got no money. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't alone. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that I don't think growth and profitability can coexist. Like, I think that when you're growing, you're spending. And you have to, because if I didn't spend, I also think back, right? And maybe you could tell us from your perspective, if I didn't spend, I would have gotten there. If you're over here on YouTube watching the podcast, listen, I need you to do me a favor. If you love me, do me this favor. Pull out your phone right now and go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts or anywhere that you actually listen to podcasts at, right? I need you to subscribe and leave a review. Listen, the way podcasts work is the streets don't know we doing good if it's not on the audio version. The YouTube version don't really count, okay? So go over there, leave us a review, and let us know how much you love the podcast. Now back to the episode.
No, facts. No, you wouldn't have, right? But to your point, because you were still growing and learning, there was a disconnect because, like, well, I'm working with this financial advisor. I'm supposed to have money, right? Where's my money?
That's where you think, right?
And so, but the thing is like, to your point, as you grow, it's like, okay, cool. Well, I'm having to reinvest this money back. So it's not lost. I'm reinvesting it into the business. But that doesn't feel good in the process.
No.
Because we just feel like I made X, I should see Y. Right? If I don't see that, then something's wrong. That's a natural human response, right? But as a business owner, as you grow and as you evolve and you realize how it all works, it's like, man, it's tough to see that. But at least I can account for where this money is going. I still think it was an important experience for you to have, though, because what it did is it made you hyper aware. You couldn't be disconnected. Right? You had to be like, well, just because this money's coming in, I need to have awareness of what's happening. It's not like, so it's not like I have to do everything, but I need to know and be aware and not disconnected from where the money's flowing.
No, that's absolutely, like, and I think it taught me a skill, like, that I didn't have, right? Because now I'm looking at every transaction every day, like, you know what I'm saying? And then, but to your point, the next year we did 1.8 million. To your point that, like, we've kept making more money. And it's like learning that skill. One, I can now be more, and I can decide. I think it's also like having enough knowledge from the front end, like, make the decision.
Facts.
Is this growth or profit? Like,
Right.
what's the goal for this year?
Yep.
And then you act accordingly.
Mm-hmm. And another way to look at it too is something a brand decision or a business decision? A business decision is X and Y, right? Right. Revenue, profit. We want to be profitable.
Yeah.
A brand decision is I might not make money on the front end.
Yeah.
But if I do this, I'm gonna have a lot of leverage that's
Right.
gonna help my brand grow long term.
Absolutely.
And as we all know, amateurs make money on the front end, pros make money on the back end. Right.
Talk that
And
talk.
so we gotta think, and you're great at branding, right? You're great
Yeah.
at marketing. So it's like sometimes you have to connect the dots on when do we have to make business decisions, like we have to make this make sense financially, and when can we lean into a branding decision that's gonna increase our awareness, increase our credibility,
Right.
and give us more leverage for something we're doing down the road.
Right.
Right. So for example, let's say before you did your first conference, oh man, I don't have a lot of footage with me in person with women. I'm gonna do a small event with maybe like 30 women. We're gonna make it look like a vibe. I'm not gonna really make no money from it, but I'm gonna be able to leverage this footage for the
Exactly.
conference. I'm gonna make $500,000.
Exactly.
You follow what I'm saying? So like, but you have to go into those decisions with those expectations so that you don't feel jaded.
Yep.
Like, man, I spent all this money, but I didn't make no money.
Right.
Versus if you knew that was your intention for that particular, business expense.
And you know exactly what's happening. You can have the expectation. And I
Facts.
think that for me, that's one thing that I've always, like, for business, I'm like, I'll rock with whatever, but I just need to know what's coming. And with being a CEO, as we know, is very much ghetto.
Very ghetto.
And you've experienced like some of these ghetto isms in your business too.
Facts.
So like what would be a horror story or like the number one ghetto thing that you feel like
Oh,
you're
man.
either you have overcome or
Yeah.
you're still trying to overcome?
Yeah. So I kind of shied away from like the digital marketing world for a while because like as a financial advisor, it was like 86% of the people you work with, they're gonna probably refer to you anyway, right?
Yeah.
They're not expecting you to do a lot of stuff online per se. But then when I knew I needed to have more impact, and I created the Melanin Millionaires Club, I was like, okay, cool, we're gonna scale, we're gonna grow, blah blah blah. And so I hired somebody who their only job was to make sure that any dispute that we had from strikes, I knew going into it, low ticket stuff,
Yep.
people are people, subscriptions. I was like, your only job is to make sure that if we get a dispute, that you handle it appropriately, right? So then we did this collaboration with somebody, and we had like a little back end, like forced continuity. And basically all that means is there's like a front end product, and then in 30 days, they're automatically going to be signed up for the club, right? It was a
Okay.
great play. I mean, we had like 800 people overnight sign up for the club. But when that 30 days hit, when people kind of forgot, like, oh, I forgot I signed up for this, we saw an uptick in disputes and charges, right? And so I'm wondering, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm thinking I have somebody I was far removed from. I'm thinking it's being managed appropriately.
Right.
Next thing I know, I get a notification like Stripe saying they're gonna hold like 25% of my money. I was like, okay, that's strange. Then I log in, and I see that we not won disputes, some of them have not even been addressed, and so we just lost them off default. And then before I actually can like try to catch up to make sure this all gets resolved, our Stripe account basically gets shut down. And we had when I say we had some bread tied up in there, we had some bread simultaneously. This is the time I'm doing an in-person live event in December.
Yeah.
And so now I got all this money tied up. I still got to make sure I can meet payroll, all these obligations, pay for all the expenses for the event. And I got all my money tied up in Stripe, all because this person who was supposed to do their job didn't do their job. But I blame myself though for being too far removed and not realizing I should have been getting daily reports on it, because had I got daily reports on it, I would have known that it wasn't being addressed.
These employees,
Super ghetto.
super ghetto.
It's around, and this is just around the holiday time too. So you got bonuses, you got stuff you're trying to do for people.
Yeah.
And all your money's like, well, not all of it, but a lot of your money.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like the cash flow. I ain't trying to go in my savings.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Exactly.
I had this planned out.
Right.
But I think that there's one thing you talked about was like disputes and like chargebacks and failed payments and all of that when it comes to subscriptions. Because I feel like right now we are in the age of subscriptions, right? And people talk about it, like do a subscription, but nobody talks about the failed payments. And it doesn't matter how cheap it is.
Doesn't matter.
Like, cause people like, well, I just do it for $14. I'm like, girl, $14 payment will fail. $7 payment will fail.
$297, $97, whatever it is, it will
doesn't.
fail.
It will fail. And you know, we actually had a membership, and it was $133 a month, and I was giving game. Like I'm like, this is what you do,
Right.
until I looked at the end of the year, and I was like, $1 million failed payment. $1 million in failed payments. I was like, what? Like and you have the expectation that something is happening, right? But $1 million, and then but here's the real kicker is that we didn't make $1 million from that profit center. So we had more failed payments than we even had in actual payments.
Crazy.
And I was like, I'm not doing this with y'all. Like,
yeah,
I love y'all. I wanna be here for the people.
Yeah.
But I'm not like I can't run a business like this.
Right. It sounds good, right? It sounds good. Like, ooh, I'm gonna get 10,000 people at $99 a month or whatever it is. It sounds good, but it's a lot more than meets the eye when it comes to that, right? So yeah, that was one of my more ghetto experiences.
No, that is very much ghetto. So then, like you said, you had an employee that's supposed to be doing their job, and I think a lot of people. One thing that I tell entrepreneurs all the time is. Because when I talk to people in marketing or entrepreneurs about marketing, the first thing they say is like, I'm just going to hire somebody. And I'm like, you know how ghetto it is to like, do you know, like, because I don't think that we conceptually understand what goes into hiring. Right. But you've like mastered, you got a real core team.
Yeah, I got
we done had some people to deal in and out, but like Samantha.
Oh yeah, she ain't going nowhere. I told her, I said, listen, like you walk into a business and the receptionist's been there for like now she's far from a receptionist, but you walk into there and this receptionist's been there for like 30 years.
Yep.
That's like she ain't going nowhere. I check in probably every other week. You good? How we feeling?
Right.
What you need? And what's cool about it, I think the reason why she sticks around, because people stick around for 3 reasons. Okay. I feel like appreciation, fulfillment, and value. Okay. And from an appreciation standpoint, it's like just because you pay somebody, they can get money from anywhere. Right. Like people think, well, I'm paying them, they got to do no. Especially if they're a player. Yeah. Right. Are you doing things to show that team player that you really appreciate them? Number 2 is fulfillment. I think a person can only go so long with doing work that doesn't have some level of joy, right? Or either that, they're gonna have to have something on the side. They got to have something. So see if you can incorporate something that fulfills them as a part of their role. Right. And the last one is valued. Of course, like they do need to be compensated relative to the value they bring to the team, right? Or at least have a growth track. So I've always been very transparent with her and always wanted to make sure that I'm always checking those 3 boxes. The other thing that I do is I create a growth track so she can see, well, even though I'm doing this right now, here is where I can evolve to, but I also let her know her gaps. So say, hey, look, if you want to evolve to this, even though you're great here, it would need to look like this for you to get to this level. So now she has an opportunity to figure out how she wants to elevate, right? And what I also realize is if you want to find out if you have an A player, don't delegate tasks, delegate outcomes, right? Because look at it like this. If we're taking a trip and I print out some directions from MapQuest, I'm dating myself, obviously. Some of y'all might not even know what MapQuest is.
You're old.
I'm older, but I'm aging like some people age like wine, some people age like milk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, which one are you?
So I'll let you take a wild guess. You know what I'm saying? It ain't milk. You know what I'm saying? But I was around, but I used to go on a little spring break trip and we had to print out the MapQuest directions. But what happens if those directions fly out the window? We're screwed, right? All we knew was the turn-by-turn directions that were printed out. Right. If there was a detour or a roadblock, those directions are null and void. It's the same thing in your business. If you give somebody a step-by-step, hey, you got to do it this way. If something comes up and it adjusts, and as they always do in small business, they're going to be screwed. Like, well, I can't follow this step to the T. I'm stuck. Versus if you delegate an outcome, now you're empowering them to figure out a new way, right? If you delegate tasks, all they're going to do is do the task. If you delegate, hey, look, this is what success looks like. I'm going to give you a little bit of autonomy on how you get there. Whether you fly, take a boat, I don't care what you do.
I just need this. Just
get there. And then hopefully you tell me how you got there faster, better, quicker, right? Because you had that autonomy. And that helped me identify like how, if I had like A players on my team. And if I didn't, I knew how to compartmentalize them or get rid of them.
I love that. Because now I'm thinking in my mind, like I got somebody that I'm like, in my mind, we're like dating, right? Like not actually dating, but
Right.
like we're dating in the business of them possibly becoming a partner, right?
Right.
And so, but I am very, you know me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm very hands-on.
Yeah.
I'm very like, here's A, B, C, D,
Right.
and follow it to the T. But like, I want to give them outcomes because I don't like to tell you every single step.
Right.
So I definitely think that's a bar, y'all. Y'all need to document that. Like, give them outcomes, and
Yep.
you'll be able to know if they're A player or. And it's okay. You need B players
Yeah,
on
you
the
do.
team.
You need role players. Like,
Yeah.
if you have extraordinary systems, you don't always have to have extraordinary people, right? So the reason why McDonald's can thrive, I don't eat McDonald's anymore, but the reason why they can thrive as a business
Yeah.
is because they have extraordinary systems.
Right.
Almost anybody can step into McDonald's and be able to plug and play.
Right.
So from a business standpoint, while I am saying give some rope and some autonomy, make sure you have like infrastructure set up to where if it doesn't work out with that person, right, somebody can step right in because you have a great infrastructure in place. You're really doing the outcomes as a test, right? My whole thing is like, my business has to live on regardless, right? I hope that you're here and around for the ride, but we got to keep this party going regardless.
Right.
So the question then becomes, if I give you some more autonomy, can I now lean on you and trust on you for more because I know I don't have to micromanage you?
I like that. I like that. So you like completely switched the mission. Well, you've evolved Melanin Money, right? Is it Melanin Millionaires now?
So the brand as a whole is Melanin Money, right? But the goal is to help people achieve their first $1 million in net worth, right?
Okay.
So the Melanin Millionaires Club. And I don't want to get into like the technicalities of like holding companies and all that kind of stuff. So the brand, the holding company is Melanin Money, but like we have brands and pillars that align with like the mission of helping people achieve their first $1 million.
So how are y'all doing it right now?
So a couple ways. So number one, in our club, we have live classes every week that are across different subject matters along people's journey to build wealth. We have an on-demand financial coach, which was actually the original name for the club, Pocket Advisor. Remember that?
Yes.
So now
and
that's
Penny.
and Penny. Yeah. So now that's a feature of the club.
Okay.
Right. Obviously through our podcast, we are able to create content at scale to impact people. We're doing live events now. And then I'll say it on the show since it's going to be releasing a little bit later.
Yeah.
We are doing our first Black Wealth Awards show.
Yes.
Right, where we'll be giving out net worth plaques, right? So obviously there's plenty of communities to give out like revenue and income awards, but as we talked about in the show, what you make is a lot different than what you keep.
Yeah.
And so now we're going to be celebrating people for their true net worth, from 100K all the way up to 10 million.
Oh, wow.
And literally that's how we're going to track it, right? Because if you submit for your award, you get approved. Now we have a database to validate that we are decreasing the wealth gap by this because here's the proof.
Here's the proof.
So that's how we're doing it.
First of all, I gotta get my money up because
And you're getting invited to
You
this.
know, I need a little
front row.
10 mil
You know what I'm saying?
award.
We gotta get you there front row. So,
Yes. I'm excited. So we got a segment on the show called "Figure It the Fuck Out."
Okay.
Because as a CEO, we have to figure it
Figure it
out
out.
like all the time. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick a scenario.
Okay.
And then you have to let us know if this happened to you, what would you do?
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's see. All right. Okay. So you are in the middle of one of your biggest launches of the year,
Okay.
and your second in command quits without any notice. What's next?
Shut the business down. No,
Nah, it's over.
nah. Oh man. First, I would see if they really want to quit. Like, you really sure you want to quit?
You sure about
You
this?
sure about that? That's the first thing. The next thing I would do is I would have to obviously identify everything that they're responsible for, because now that's gonna have to be spread across multiple people.
Right.
And I would then ask ourselves, do we need to simplify anything? Because is it realistic for us to launch in the exact same way without this person, right, in this time frame? If it is, great. But if it's not, maybe we can still have a successful launch, but maybe we need to like strip some things away to make it more palatable.
Right.
So I will reevaluate the dynamics of the launch to figure out if it still makes sense in its current capacity. And then I was in a fly on the wall on your other podcast. I would have to call somebody, you know what I'm saying, cry in the car a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you still got to get it done.
You got.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to get it done. So for example, like with the Stripe situation, until I like had my new merchant account set up, I had to still collect money. So I had to figure it out. Like, what was the plan? But I would just, I would just evaluate the outcome. And I would figure out exactly what I need to do, who can help me. I would be pulling on everybody. I would tell, hey, look, for a season, we all hands on deck. Right. We got to get this done, and I'll make it happen. And if they didn't come back and they didn't quit for a legitimate reason, I'm gonna have to deal with that person. I'm gonna have some choice words with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, really, this what we doing?
Right? Like, that's disrespectful.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Nah, I love this. So what can we look forward to? Like, what's coming up next?
Yeah, so by the time this airs, we'll be probably in the middle or in the back half of a live podcast tour in conjunction with the Social Proof podcast. So y'all can be on the lookout for that. My biggest thing I'm excited for is the award show, right? I'm trying, like, the Grammys meets, Black Wealth. You know what I'm saying? So really excited about that. I'm probably have to pick your brain on some some vibe. Like, how can we make sure this is a vibe?
But I'm saying this now to hold George accountable. I am the official marketing advisor on this collab.
I need that. So I am super excited about that because it's gonna be fun. Yeah. But it's also very mission based, right? And it gives us an opportunity to really measure the impact that we're trying to have. So.
This is gonna be dope. Well, thank you, George, for coming on the Ghetto.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for listen, y'all. If y'all make it to the couch, man. Like, try not to fall asleep. Try not to fall asleep.
You done went from here.
I have kind of like dipped down a little bit for real. I hope I ain't messed up the camera shot.
First of all, they gonna be talking about this the Ray J with the little the hat. They were like, "What is happening with George?"
I was like, "Boo, boo,
but
boo,
right,
boo."
every time we come back to his.
That's fun. Blame it on the couch. Don't blame it on me.
Listen, we trying to make it comfortable over here. Thank you for coming to the Ghetto CEO podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You guys, make sure if you are watching the video on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Send this to about 10 friends. Okay. And then also, if you are listening to it on any platform, make sure you actually leave a review. Reviews matter. Okay. So leave us a review and send it to some friends. But I will see you guys on the next episode. Peace out.
New event. Ooh, the Ghetto. Invoice in. That ain't Ghetto. Money spin. Oh, that's Ghetto. Hold on. It's kind of Ghetto being a CEO.